Hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. Before we get things started today, I just got to give a shout out to, and I hope I'm pronouncing this guy's name right, so forgive me if I butcher your name, but Joey Ryman, his Instagram name is at Scheeman Ryman. He sent me a message, and it was a message to correct me. And I find this really interesting because I've been saying it for so long, and he's the first person to correct me. So I appreciate him reaching out and correcting me because I try my best to speak the truth. And in the midst of these hour-long conversations, I don't get everything right. So I've been speaking about how FYA has been the only fest to happen this year. And Joey reached out and had to remind me that, in fact, LDB happened after FYA. So pardon me, I have no ill will towards LDB. I actually tried really hard to go this year. So shout out to LDB and all the hard work that they do every year on putting on a great fest in the Midwest. And shout out to Joey for reaching out and correcting me on that. I appreciate that. But we're back, and we traveled to North Philly to talk to Clemo, such an awesome guy. I've been a fan of Ripped Away since the first SWB. I had talked to Nate Prosciutti behind the scenes and just wanted to have Clemo on the podcast to talk to him about the bands that he's in, Ripped Away and Fool's Game. And I know that he booked some shows out in Wilkes-Barre at the Hive. And I'm just really interested in these younger kids coming in and putting in work and just doing awesome stuff for the scene. So I just want to give him a platform and just come on and talk about all the awesome things that he's doing. So it was really fun time to be able to wake up early and talk to somebody who I haven't had a whole lot of relations with. I met him at FYA for the first time, and it was a quick introduction, but I was really happy to finally have him on and talk about all the awesome things that he's doing. So shout out to Clemo. I want to shout out to everybody that's staying strong and still pushing and supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. It's still really important for us to keep fighting. And like I said before, not to get complacent and not to relax just because we have a couple wins here and there. It's a really big thing to push for change in our corrupt system. And that was my phone going off. I've done over 100 podcasts and I didn't have my phone on mute, so I apologize. But like I said, don't get complacent. Keep going. Keep fighting the good fight. I appreciate every band that is taking the effort to put out any kind of merch or donated sales from the stores. It's really, really a good thing. I'm still stoked to see our community come together, and shout out to everybody else who's not in a band, who's still just doing what they can, whether it be posting links, going out to protests, just putting in effort to help make this change because we need it desperately, and it's not going to happen if we just sit back and do nothing. So shout out to everybody who's going out there and trying. But seriously, I had a great time talking to Clemo. We talked about a whole lot of awesome things. So I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. So without further ado, welcome Clemo to the podcast. All right, and we're live. Welcome to the podcast, Clemo.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm happy we're finally here to do the podcast. I remember Nate Prosciutti. Shout out Nate. He had mentioned you to me like a while back, and I was like, yeah, like I know about Ripped Away because I saw the flyer for SWB, and I was just really interested in all the bands that were on that lineup. So I checked out every band, and that's how I found out about Ripped Away. So I always knew that I wanted to have somebody from the band on. That's why at FYA I had asked Nate to introduce me to you because I wanted to just kind of have a face-to-face before I had you on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. That's sick. I appreciate that. I'm stoked to be here. Shout out to Nate. Shout out Choice to Make. That's Graham Wilkes-Barre shit.
Yeah, so I'm just curious about you and like how you got into hardcore and where you're from. So if you can just talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm actually from a town next to Scranton. It's about like 15 minutes away called Carbondale. It's like a really small town. Like I graduated with like 98 kids. So there's this dude, Johnny, I grew up like skateboarding with because we had a little skate park, and that's really all I did growing up. And he took me to my first show at Underwood Skate Park in Scranton, and it was like a metalcore show, and I was like, this is cool. So I did that for a few years, and then like I feel like most people, I stumbled upon like Backtrack and Terror and Madball and things like that, and I was like, oh, this is kind of sick. So then Wilkes-Barre, I don't remember what my first actual hardcore show was. It was at the other side in Wilkes-Barre. But once I started going to shows out there, I was like, yo, this is sick. And then I eventually met up with Johnny Edge, our like drummer right now for Ripped Away. And then we started that, and it's kind of been history since then.
And how old were you at that point?
When I went to a show for the first time, or when I started going to hardcore shows?
Yeah, when you started going to hardcore shows.
At that point, I was probably about 18. I think I went to my first show at 16.
Uh-huh.
And I'm 23 now, so only a couple of years.
Okay, that's awesome. I was I'm always interested in hearing about how people got into it, because it happens like a million different ways. So it's always cool to.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's always cool to hear people talk about it for the first time.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like I'm happy I stumbled upon it. I think it's like something I always loved about it is I feel like the skate culture and the hardcore culture, or like just music culture in general, are very similar with like the types of people you're gonna meet and things like that.
Okay, and when did you have the idea to just start a band?
I'd probably say like right around that time of being 18 and going to shows and like starting to mosh and things like that. I was just kind of like, man, like I have a lot to say, and like being in a band would be sick. And originally, Ripped Away was just something like I had a lot of like personal things going on, and I like sat down with Johnny and I was like, hey, like he's been in bands, he's in his 30s, and I was like, yo, just give me a chance, like let's do a band. He's like, all right. So originally it was just gonna be for fun, and it still is, but it definitely turned into something like much more personal for me and him, and something that we're putting a lot of work into currently. We've been going through members, and we finally have like a solid lineup. So,
and
that's definitely a lot.
And how'd you guys come across the other current members?
So the current members, it's Chris Ventura from he's also from Wilkes-Barre area. He used to play in like a couple bands. Billy Andre, he plays in No Mercy currently, and also Ripped Away on guitar. And then this kid Trevor McDonald, which I'm super stoked to have in the band. He plays bass, and this is actually his first like band ever. So having him in the band is really cool to see somebody like kind of like me a few years ago, like be super stoked about being in a band and like playing shows for the first time.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome that you're able to come across these people and just like the bass player, give him a chance to be in the band. So that's really awesome to hear.
Yeah, exactly. And he's super stoked about it.
Okay, and you guys put out your demo or EP, Lessons Through Pain, 2 years ago in 2018.
Yeah, that was the first bit of music we wrote. I was super stoked about it at the time, not so much anymore. I wish we did more, but I feel like that's every band when they put something out. And
why do you feel that way about that first release? Is it just because do you feel like it doesn't hold up, or just like lyrically things are different?
Yeah, I think, as far as lyrically, I'd say I'm satisfied with it, but as far as like music goes, I wish we did more. And like, I guess it's where we're at now in the band. Like the band's obviously matured, bands get better over time and learn how to like work with each other more and just get better overall and like feel like their sound. And I feel like we're kind of at a point now with like the stuff that we're writing where we know what we want to sound like. So listening to the old stuff, I'm not disappointed in it by any means. I'm like, damn, like I wish we did this and this, but at the same time, it's like, progress shows over time. So I can't really be upset about it.
Yeah. And to be fair, I listened to Lessons Through Pain, and I think it's fine. From 2018, I feel like it can still hold up. Like I don't just like look at it and be like, okay, I don't want to listen to that. I feel like it's not a bad EP.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's sick.
Okay, and it seems like you guys have been on a pretty consistent release schedule. You guys released Lessons Through Pain in 2018, and then 2019 you guys put out Redemption Strike, which I thought the production on that just sounded like super clean, which I'm like really into.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, shout out to Landmine Studios out in Jersey. Len from Descent. He really did a good job with that, and he's a great dude to work with.
Okay. And I was just curious about the cover for Redemption Strike. You guys are in front of some sort of mural.
Yeah, that's actually right in Trenton, New Jersey, right outside of Chance. It's a bar and venue. So right next to the venue, there's literally a garage door like with all this graffiti on it. And I was like, yo, this is cool. Let's just do the promos here, or the cover art here. And so everybody was down, and we just took just a basic picture, and I was like, yeah, this looks sick. Like, I'm cool with it. Let's rock with it.
Yeah. And the guy on the right, I'm not sure what his name is, but his eyes are closed, which I think is pretty funny.
Oh yeah, he was probably like really drunk or high or something at that point.
Just enjoying the show.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay, hell yeah, that's sick. But so, and you guys put out Redemption Strike on Upstate Records. Can you talk about how you guys had that relationship with them?
Yeah, so we were actually doing a weekend run with Roseblood and this band Rest in Piss. And we were on the way to North Carolina. It was just like a little 3-day weekend. And Mario, or who was it? No, actually Mitch from Descent had reached out to me. And I guess him and Mario had talked. Mario reached out to him about Ripped Away wanting to be on Upstate. So Mitch hit me up. I was like, yeah, dude, that'd be cool. He went back to Mario. Mario gave me a phone call. And we kind of just decided to sign with them. I think we're just doing 2 releases. So we're putting out a full length with them later this year. And after that, I'm not sure what's going to happen. But, Mario gave us an opportunity being in a new band off the jump. And, we just kind of went with it. And he's been very good to us, helped us out with this show, everything. And, it's been fun. Like, it's a cool little label.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. They put out some releases for bands that I have friends in. Shout out Bo Vice from Chicago. So I think it's awesome to see you guys get that opportunity early on in your career, and have some.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and just kind of get that exposure. So that's really cool to see. But I'm curious, it's 2020. We're still in the middle of this pandemic, and you just mentioned that you guys are releasing a record later this year. Are you guys? Do you guys have like a date set, or are you guys just kind of waiting to see how this thing pans out later in the year?
Yeah, we're basically just like stuck in a box until Corona's over. Like, we finally have all the songs finished. We're doing 7 songs, and we're just waiting to go record it. So as soon as, it seems like places are starting to open, I'm hoping, even if we get into a studio soon, we're still not sure. I'd like to release it closer to shows coming back if that's even possible, but really who knows when any of that's even going to happen. So.
Yeah, I thought shows weren't happening, but I don't know if you saw on Twitter floating around. Apparently there was like a secret show in
oh yeah
and I know you had recently moved, so I know that's kind of in your area. Did you have any wind? Did you get any wind about that? Did you know that it was going on, or did you show up?
Yeah, so I knew it was going on, and I've been itching for a show just like everybody else, and I wanted to go, but I actually had my son, and that obviously comes first. So it was kind of upsetting. I was like, damn, dude, like, first show, like, in the middle of all this shit, and I can't be there. But, from what I've seen in the videos, it still did it looked like it was packed out. Everybody had fun. Obviously, nobody got sick. So, that's what's up. So, I mean, honestly, I know a lot of people are very weird about it. I wouldn't mind seeing more of that. And I think that's how hardcore should be. Like, it's DIY. Like, there's no phones. Everybody's just there for the fucking music.
Yeah, I saw like one grainy video of a Shattered Realm playing, and I was just like, "Oh shit, that like really happened." And like, I was scrolling through Twitter the other day, and I saw that FaceRec tweeted, and they have like a certain format, the way that they put out their tweets, and it read something like, that they played a show during during Corona, and I didn't know how to take it just because the way they format their tweets. I was like, wait, did they play it like early on, or did it like just happen? So I just didn't really pay any attention to it. But then when I saw the video, I think it was yesterday, like the video popped up on my feed. I was like tripping out, like, holy shit, there looked like a lot of people wherever the show was. And I was like, okay, I was like, that's crazy that they're doing these underground shows. And I was surprised. Obviously, there wasn't any advertisement that I saw on social media, or maybe I'm just not in the right circles, but I didn't see like a flyer or anything. But the fact to see this show like kind of full of people, I was like, this is insane.
Yeah, no, and like I think it was mostly word of mouth. When I mean, don't get me wrong, it'd be cool to like do it in a way where everybody could have went, but obviously with the pandemic going on, I'm sure they didn't want to have a million people there regardless, or maybe they did. Either way, it's fucking, for me, I was stoked to see it happening because, like you're going to have two kinds of people. You're going to have people who really are just don't really like, and I don't want to say don't care about it, but are still going to go on with their lives like I've been. And then you're going to have people that are like, oh, absolutely not. I wouldn't go there. And, that's fine. You could do that, but things are still going to happen without you.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. I feel like if they were to have a flyer, or if they did have a flyer and I just wasn't aware, I'm like, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because I feel like that would just be like something like new for the community to be split about.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was cool. Like I would love to go check out some crazy underground show that's happening during the pandemic. And for me, and I've said this before on the podcast, like my corporate job is considered essential, so I haven't stopped working, and my day-to-day is not that different from before the pandemic. So I always feel like I have a skewed version of this whole thing, because it just doesn't feel like a whole lot has changed for me from like doing my going to work, and then I never really went out a whole lot anyways. So like just not going to shows and not going to Disneyland, that's the only difference for me for this whole pandemic. So it's definitely like for me, I just feel like it's strange, but I would jump at the opportunity to try and go do something like that.
Oh, and I don't blame you. I think most people would, and I think like that's something where a lot of people need it at this point, because I know a lot of people's lives have changed drastically. So I feel like a lot of people are like searching for that, like, oh my god, a show is something that'll feel normal again.
Yeah. No, I definitely understand that. Yeah, now I'm curious. Now I want to start asking around to see if anything like that's happening out here in my area. Because right now there's this group of guys that they have this thing called SOS Booking, and they've been doing these interviews live on Twitch. And
I've seen a couple of flyers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you're aware of that, and I think that's really cool, just to kind of keep like members of these bands in front of everybody's eyes, just to kind of keep everybody in tune and like just kind of updated with like these people and what's going on with the music. And I think that's awesome. But it's be really interesting to see if somebody would be willing to try to throw like a crazy underground show.
Yeah, no, and I hope it happens more. And honestly, I think it will. Maybe not right away in like 2 weeks, but I think in the upcoming months, it seems to me like more and more people are starting to like, calm down about the virus a little bit and just kind of get into that point to like where they're like, whatever. And, shows could happen outside, or, even if people wanted to, like, they're going to have shows in their basement, and, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm sure some people disagree, but I think it's sick.
So you did you move to Philly, or where did you move to exactly?
Yeah, I live in North Philadelphia right now, and I moved out there from I was living in Scranton, and I moved to Philly finally.
Okay, and right now during the pandemic, is it like are they pretty strict about like wearing masks out there?
Oh yeah, I mean. So I wear a mask, obviously, because I'm not going to be an asshole. But like every store, you still got to, wear a mask inside. The only time I don't wear one is if I'm at the skate park. Like, like you're around people, but you're not super close to anyone. But yeah, Philly's pretty I think they just went green actually, so I'm not sure how all of that stuff really works. I don't really keep up on it, but to my knowledge, you still have to wear masks in the store. I see people at the grocery stores that are still terrified. Using hand sanitizer, all the stuff, and there's something wrong with that. That's fine. I can't blame them. But yeah, Philly's kind of, at first for me it was, it's fucking weird. Like you got to grab a mask to leave your house. You look outside, like you kind of feel like you're in like a fucking Fallout game. You know what I mean? You see everybody like scared of this pandemic, and like now it's been a couple months, so it seems normal, which is probably even scarier.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I wonder what it's going to be like when masks aren't required. I feel like people are going to feel free again, because like I know there's a lot of controversy and people don't want to wear masks, and I love seeing those videos online of people freaking out that they're claiming that they're being forced to wear masks, but it's just like, no, dude, like we're all trying to get through this together. Like I don't think anybody actually wants to wear these all the time, but it's like, it's what we have to do to try to get through this thing,
Right, exactly, and I completely agree with that. And that's the thing, like, when I talk about shows, like, obviously I wouldn't expect anybody to wear a mask at, like, an underground show like that, but people are putting themselves in a situation where they're choosing to go there. Now, my thing with wearing a mask and why I said, like, yeah, I'll wear one and I'm not going to be an asshole is because, let's say I was carrying, a bunch of people at the grocery store, yeah, they choose to go there, but that's a lot different from choosing to go to an event or something like that. Like, obviously you need groceries to survive. Like, it's not like you can really avoid that.
Yeah. You definitely need food to survive, and granted you can order stuff online, but that's just like another point of contact that your stuff's being touched by like other people that could have it. So it's just like, I don't even know, maybe you're better off just going and grabbing yourself or not. I seriously have no idea. This whole thing is always just like, strange, because like I've been like reading these stories that like popped up on Twitter about people being super careful, but then they just like randomly got it. So I'm just like, damn, that's
I mean, if you want my honest opinion, and a lot of people disagree with this, I truly believe that if you're gonna get it, you're gonna get it. It doesn't matter what you do, and that's not to say like an age thing or anything like that. I just whether it's like based on your immune system or whatever the fuck's going on, like that's just how I feel about it. And that might just be me like coping with anxiety to like make myself feel better and not panic, but that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, honestly, there has been times where like I thought about like, damn, I kind of want to get it just to kind of be like, all right, cool. I don't have this like fear of getting it anymore.
Right.
But like I haven't been tested for it, because I feel like if I went and got tested, that's where I would get it. That's like, obviously like that's happened to like a lot of people. Then also there's like false positives and there's all this like crazy stuff going on. So I'm like, all right, I was like, the only way I'll get tested if I actually get sick. But I have like this like thing where I never get sick. So I'm just like kind of like in this weird limbo where I'm just kind of like waiting and hoping that like I don't get it. But at the same time, I kind of want to just kind of get it to get it over with, if that makes sense.
Right. No, that makes complete sense. Like I like rolled my ankle, or like I fucked something up pretty good a few months ago, and it's healed now, but it was right when the pandemic was kind of like starting and getting big. And one of my friends was like, "Oh, you got to go to the hospital." And I was like, "Absolutely not. Like if I'm going to get it anywhere, it's going to be there. Like that's the last place I'm going." So I just iced it and let it heal.
Yeah, like unless like you were actually like gonna bleed out or something super crazy, yeah, I would have done the same thing. I would have avoided it at all costs.
Yeah, exactly. It's scary, man.
Yeah, and it's really interesting too, because this is like the first time in like my life that I've had to go through this, and like we're all like in the same boat, So it's something like really interesting to see how things are playing out.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree, and that's something like between the coronavirus itself and seeing the world change and like being laid off at work and things like that, and also like going to these protests and seeing that, I'm like, dude, these are things that I'm probably never going to see in my lifetime again.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope we can find a cure to the coronavirus, and I hope we can make positive change in this like weird corrupt system that we've been like okay with our whole lives.
Exactly.
So I want to shout out Ripped Away. You guys did that Black Lives Matter design, and you guys donated all the money to the Philadelphia Bail Fund. I thought that was awesome. I liked when I saw bands stepping up and using their platform and putting the money towards these donations. I thought that was awesome. So I want to give you guys a shout out for that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. We wanted to do our part, and that was something that made me like really happy. Is like, that's one thing that the hardcore, just music community as a whole can agree on, and it's cool to see that everybody's finally on one side of the fence. And I feel like almost every fucking band, I at least donated money or did make a shirt, and I seen like a lot of like bigger bands like Terror and like bands like that like really raised a lot of fucking money, and like that's crazy to fucking see because hardcore is such a big and small community. But really, when everybody's on the same boat, like, there was fucking thousands and thousands of dollars raised.
Yeah, which I thought it was like, I think it first hit when I saw Mind Force. They like, donated like 10K. And I was like, I'm like, dude, hell yeah, that's so sick. And like, that kind of like opened my eyes. I'm like, okay, like if we all get together and, like get behind something, like we can make crazy change. And then yeah, like just seeing all like the other bands, record labels, just like putting up like their donations, I was like, this is awesome. And this is like, and like you said, and it's a weird thing to say, but like it's like if you're a part of it, you kind of understand like hardcore is big because like it's worldwide, but then also at the same time it's still underground. It's not mainstream. Exactly. Not everybody like knows what like hardcore music is, so it was definitely awesome to see. And even still, like I know people are still putting up donations, so it's just awesome that we were able to get behind and come together and try to push for this positive change.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And like I was saying, it's sick to see that everybody's on the same boat for once, because there's people are always gonna have different opinions, but that's something where any decent human being can agree with that. Shit's fucked up, and I'm glad everybody sees it that way.
Mm-hmm. And also, you guys got onto the that Wilkes-Barre shirt that was being sold over at Dark Medicine. I thought that was such an awesome thing. I love when I saw like like that, like your guys' community coming together and all the bands getting on one shirt. I thought that was super sick.
Yeah, no, I was really stoked about it when I seen the design and everything. I was like, yo, this is so fucking cool. And I think like the coolest thing about it for me too is to see all of the bands and like artists in the area now, because I feel like when I started going to shows, that was kind of a time where it was the in-between time where there wasn't really a lot of shows happening in Scranton Wilkes-Barre. There wasn't a lot of bands around, like Choice to Make wasn't even a thing yet. I honestly think the only band that was around were One Step Closer and Warren, and they were One Step Closer, like they were both playing a lot, but there was really no other local bands to even put on the shows with them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool to see now, like when shows happen, if I'm booking shows or Nate's booking shows or Dan or Brian or whoever at the Hive, like, now we even have the Hive. Like, we have our own venue, a DIY spot. Like, it's fucking sick. I know, like, TK and Nate and all those dudes, like, they built a stage there. Like, it's cool to see, like, how much, like, Scranton Wilkes-Barre has, like, made a comeback. Because I always see, like, older videos from before I was going to shows and hear stories from people that I've met over the years about, like, going to all these venues and seeing all these bands. And I was like, man, like, what the fuck happened? But I feel like that's kind of just like the cycle with music, I guess. It's up top for a couple of years, dies down in certain areas, and then it comes back. Yeah,
and you guys are part of that new wave. And I hope you guys are keep it up and working hard. And it's awesome to see the Hive come together. Obviously, I talk to Nate all the time, so just being able to just pick his brain and find out what's going on with like that spot and hearing about it coming together, I thought was really awesome. And I am friends with some like of the older guys from your area, and there was like a lull in your guys' spot, but like looking at that Dark Medicine t-shirt right now and just seeing just some of the current stuff that's going on, and I know there's other bands, it's just like really awesome to see. And I hope you guys are able to keep it going and just build it up and just keep it strong.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I hope so too, man. And like, it's cool because right before Corona, there was a lot of shows happening at the Hive, and I said it a few times. There was like kids coming out that I've never seen. There was a show that I booked, TV Space Cowboy and a few other bands played, and a bunch of kids came from like an hour away. Their mom dropped them off. It was like 3 or 4 kids, and they were all like 15, 16, and I'm like, that's so fucking cool. Like, and I was talking to them and shit. I was like, you know, come to more shows. Like, gave them like the Hive's Instagram and all that shit, and I'm pretty sure they're going to shows now. Like, they came to a few after that, so that was really cool to see, like, these new heads that are getting interested in coming out.
Yeah, and shout out to their mom for being down to take them out, because like that's such an awesome thing. Because you got to think, like, you know, like as an adult you work, and it's just like, damn, like your kid asks you to drive them an hour away to go to the show that's going to get out late. So the fact that she was down to do that, to like let these kids like have that experience, I think is really awesome.
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, I was so stoked for him. You could tell, like, the kids are like, "Yo, this is the coolest fucking thing!" Like, people are moshing, like, they're a little scared, but they're like, "It's sick." You know, it's just like going to your first show, but like seeing it through somebody else's eyes.
Yeah, and it's cool to hear that they are like going to shows, like, you know, more consistently. Because I always talk about on the podcast how the youth in our scene is really important. So we always got to kind of like encourage them and put them on, and not try to, you know, gatekeep them and keep them out, because you know, after us, like, there needs to be like another generation if we're going to want to keep this thing going, you know.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that too, and that's the biggest thing is, you know, you got to make people feel welcome. Like, it's obviously a very fucking chaotic space, and I'm not saying, like, you know, go out of your way and fucking shake everybody's hand, but at least like younger kids like that, like, definitely like you said, that is the future. So if you like are somebody that's trying to like cool guy little kids like that, like, I mean, you're just shooting yourself in the foot at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm not the type of guy to want to be everybody's friend. But if, yeah, there are new kids, like, there's really no point in trying to like bully them out of the scene, when it's just like, no, like, you're going to need them to keep this shit going, because they're the ones who are going to have that spirit and that, you know, that new fire to want to keep it alive and start new bands and, you know, book shows. So it's really important.
Right, exactly. And that, like you said, that's the biggest thing, is them, like, you know, growing as people and like learning how to book shows and starting bands and shit like that.
And I do remember Nate mentioning to me that you booked shows. I was curious, like, how'd you get into that, especially at like a younger age?
So that's it was like the weird time when there wasn't really shows happening. Like, there was stuff going on in Wilkes-Barre. I'm pretty sure TK was still doing stuff. I think the Lamppost was the venue at the time, but there just wasn't a lot, and there wasn't really a lot of like heavier shows going on, and that's kind of like what I was still into at the time. So I just started booking bands at this venue called the Irish Wolf Pub. Well, it was more of a bar than anything, but I met this dude Pete. He's like, "Yeah, you can book shows here." So I did that for about 2 years, and you know, I had, you know, you're gonna have shows where I had one show, I had Rhythm of Fear, like, sick fucking band, 3 people paid, and I was like, damn, like, this is tough. And then the next show, I had over, I think, 130 kids in this little ass bar. So it's like, in an area like that, it's crazy, but it definitely taught me a lot about, like, you can't give up on things like that. And like, being so young, I was like getting like defeated, like, oh man, like, do I just not know how to do this, and what can I do better? And I'm still learning so much, but it was cool to, like, you know, I like see what Nate does at his shows and TK, and I definitely take a lot of advice from those dudes these days.
Damn, 3 people paid at that show. That's wild.
Yeah, it was it sucked, but it was still, I mean, for me, I was stoked, because like I love like stuff like that. Rhythm of Fear is a fucking sick band.
I tried booking a show like years ago, like when I was younger, and it was just like, it was so bad. Like, the venue pulled out because they found out that we weren't going to be selling alcohol, and it was like this weird thing, and the venue pulled out, and I was like, shit, like, it's like too late, there's nothing I can do. So like, hitting up all the bands and telling them that I had to cancel was just so embarrassing. And like, I felt bad, because like, I literally tried, and we had the spot, like, you know, down, and then last minute I had to pull the plug, and it was just so embarrassing. I was like, I'm never going to try this again. This is just so much work.
Yeah, no, and that sucks. That almost happened to me once, because one of the bartenders, I guess, did an open mic night, and I went down there and I was like, hey man, there's a show. He's like, no, my open mic night's happening, and it turned into a big argument. But at the end of it all, my show ended up happening. But I was like, yeah, dude, I'm not about to cancel on all these bands for fucking open mic night. No offense if karaoke's your thing, but
Yeah, that's crazy. Or imagine you guys had to combine open mic night and your show.
Oh my god, that would have been yeah. See, and that's the thing too about I'm really happy we have the Hive because there was like Nate and TK started booking at that same venue too because that ended up being the only spot after the other side closed. And you know, it was such a small fucking place. I'm sure if you go on like the Feet First YouTube, Feet First Productions, you can see like King Nine played there and they're like Regulate, and like those sets are fucking crazy. I know. I'll never forget it during Blind Justice. There was people like front flipping off the bar and like crazy shit. But then there was also like a lot of like small places like that are cool because it's chaotic, it's hardcore. But then it's also like, oh shit, because it was one of those places where like, you know, a lot of bums would walk in and a lot of like random fucking people that didn't know what was going on. So there was a lot of like stupid shit that happened at shows because of it being so accessible to like, you know, like I guess regular people, we could say.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. Imagine being a bum and just stumbling into a hardcore show.
Dude, there was one dude that came in and I had a friend that was moshing and he jumped on the bar to jump off it and the dude grabbed him by his legs and like, you know, swept him off on the bar and like, you know, like we had to check the dude and like, you know, what the fuck's going on, but like it kind of blows your mind when you see people like, because you see different like reactions when you can tell somebody doesn't know what they just walked into. Mm-hmm. And so to see that guy do that as if he was like being attacked compared to like most people being like, oh fuck this, they walk in and walk out, like it's definitely funny to see.
Yeah, times like that it doesn't remind me because for me it's like it's so normal. I've been doing this for, you know, so long, so seeing something like that I wouldn't even bat an eye. But for somebody on the outside who, you know, doesn't know like what hardcore is or how intense it can get, even though like it's like it's like controlled, people understand the mosh pit, but like when it's somebody from the outside, they think like a fight's breaking out or they just don't know what's happening.
Oh yeah, and like we were saying earlier, like hardcore is so big but yet still so like small and underground. Like it really is. Like, you know, whenever I'm out, you know, if I'm with people or, you know, meeting new people that aren't into that kind of stuff and I can tell, they're like, oh my god, you're in a band, that's cool, you know, what do you play? And I was like, you know, like, oh, it's a hardcore band. And they're like, well, what's that? Like, and that's still so fucking common. Like, I mean, I feel like that happens at least once a week. Like whenever I like meet people, like they don't know what it is, they have absolutely no fucking idea. And I'm like, you know, like it's cool because like to me that's like, all right, cool, hardcore is still hardcore. Like it's not mainstream.
Yeah, whenever I like talk about it to somebody who doesn't understand, I ask them if they know who Hatebreed is. That's kind of like the bar that I set. I'm like, all right, do you know Hatebreed? If they say yes, I'm like, all right, cool. Then it's like along those lines. And if not, I'm like, okay, never mind. I don't want to really explain it to you.
I know. It's actually really funny you say that because that's literally exactly what I started doing, and that determines how that conversation is going to go. So it's actually funny that I feel like there's definitely more people than us too that definitely just use like the Hatebreed analogy.
Yeah, because I feel like they're just like one of like the biggest hardcore bands ever, and obviously they're still doing it, and they have reached like an audience outside of like our bubble. So it's just like, okay, if you understand, cool, but if not, because it's just hard to kind of explain because then you can go like, oh, like, you know, it's more like punk, and then you can dive into it, but sometimes it's just like I don't really want to break down what what hardcore music is for somebody on the outside who doesn't understand or who's just curious about it. It's just like, no, I'm like, how about I just give you some suggestion on like a band to listen to, and if you like it, cool, and if not, like, yeah, we can go our separate ways.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like there was a kid I met when I started my job when I moved out to Philly, and he had like, you know, gauges and a bunch of tattoos and stuff. So I asked him, I was like, oh yeah, like what kind of music you listen to? He's like, oh, I listen to hardcore. I'm like, oh shit, that's so sick, because I work with all older dudes, so I was stoked. I'm like, all right, cool, this kid's my age, and well, I was like, well, what's like your favorite band? He's like, oh, Northlane, and I'm like, oh, great, here we go, it's one of those.
Okay. Yeah, it's so strange too how like there's like other genres that try to hijack like, you know, the genre, which is like so like weird to me, because the idea that somebody could listen to what they think is hardcore and just because like, you know, it has like some heavy parts, I'm just like, this is really strange. But I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, I'm not gonna get too like torn up about it. I'm just like, all right, cool. Like, you listen to hardcore, but not the kind of hardcore that I listen to.
Right, exactly. And like from that point on, like the conversation kind of went. I was like, oh well, like listen to like I just like shot him a couple bands. Like obviously, I feel like if you like something like that, like I was like, have you ever heard of Knock Loose? Like no. And I was like, all right, cool, check that band out because you'll love that. Like, and they're sick. I mean, I'm not dissing them at all. I fucking love that band too. But it's just like you were saying, it's so weird that people like will still call that hardcore. And I always get curious. I'm like, I wonder if this person like really listen to hardcore, if they'd even like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or if they'd be like, oh no, this ain't for me, this ain't hardcore. Because I feel like there's a lot of people that have that instilled into their mind where they're like, yeah, this is hardcore, like, and it's just the farthest thing from it.
Yeah, I have this dude that I see at like our I haven't seen him in a while, but we used to do these like quarterly meetings, and he saw my hydro flask and I had some like band stickers on it, and he asked me, he's like, oh, like dude, are you straight edge? And I was like, yeah, like, what's up? And he's like, oh, dude, like, I'm straight edge too. Like, do you have any like suggestions on like bands that I could like listen to? And I was like, yeah. So like, I gave him like a list of bands. And then the next time I saw him, he's like, oh, he's like, I didn't really like any of that stuff. Like, he's like, I'm looking for like some like, super like death metal, like heavy stuff. And I'm just like thinking about it. I was like, I don't know any straight edge band that sounds like that, dude. Like, I don't think it really goes in that direction. And he's like, okay. He's like, well, like, I'm going to keep looking. I'm like, for sure, dude. Like, good luck. Cause like,
honestly, good luck.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's cool. At least like, I think straight edge is bigger than hardcore. And that might be really dumb to say, but I really think it's actually becoming a very, like, I don't want to say common thing, but it's definitely like bigger, like than it ever was. Which is, I mean, it's a good thing. I'd rather, see a million fucking straight edge kids than, a bunch of kids on drugs and fucking stupid shit like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I'm down for that, and I'm never the one to like push it in people's faces. It's like I'm obviously like people know from like my Instagram and Twitter handle, but like I just it's been like a part of me for a long time. I'm proud to be straight edge, but like I'm never gonna be the one to want to shove it in your face and try to make you join.
Right. Well, I think with that too, like even having it in your handle or your bio, because our drummer Johnny, like that's what we call him, Johnny Edge. He's been straight edge for forever, since before I fucking knew him. And he's he's never one, like he's the same way. He doesn't throw it in anybody's face, but he's always talking about he's proud to be straight edge. Like that's what his social media is, things like that. And like, well, it is something you should take pride in. Like you're doing something that not every person can do. And I remember a while back seeing like, it, like, I really fucking hate Twitter. And like, this is like one of the biggest reasons why, like, there were people just complaining about, like, I guess people like being try hard straight edge, or I don't want to say pretending, because they were like still straight edge. They were just, I guess, being a try hard. But my thing was, I'd rather see straight edge be a trend and kids try to do that over a bunch of kids trying to be like getting into drugs or like, drinking and driving or just doing like whatever stupid fucking shit that most people think is cool anyway. I thought it was cool to see so many like new kids get on the straight edge wave. I was like, whether you stick with it forever or not, I'd rather see people try to get into that.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of friends that have sold out, and that's, to me, like when I was younger, like I would get bummed because I didn't know anything else, because like when I met these guys, they were all straight edge, and I thought we were all in it together or whatever. Excuse me.
Right.
But then I realized, I'm like, no, I was like, I never, want to do any of that stuff even after my friends sold out. So I was just like, okay, I was like, if that's what they're into now, that's cool. Like, that's still not for me. So I stayed straight edge. I'm still friends with my friends who sold out, and I don't look at them any different. They don't like look at me weird for still being straight edge. So like, I think it's fine. Like if, people want to try it and they figure out it's not for them, like I'm not gonna try to give them a whole lot of shit for it.
Right, exactly. And like it really is one of those things where it's not for everyone. Like not everybody has that willpower to be able to do it, and that's just the truth.
Yeah, and that's fair. But it's always funny, like when I have to, and going back to it being underground and having to like explain it to people, and then like them thinking I'm weird for being straight edge. in 2020. I'm just like, all right, that's still pretty funny to me.
Yeah, and I mean, you get people like that, but they're fucking cornballs anyway. Like, I mean, because at that point, like, that's just stupid. If you know, you look at somebody funny, it's like, oh man, this dude doesn't put any fucking chemicals or anything that'll hurt him in his body. That's so weird. Like, really? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, the question that I love getting is like, oh, how do you have fun? I'm just like, are you kidding?
That's awful. That's terrifying. Like, see, that's literally something like that's sad. Like, what do you mean? Like, oh, I play video games. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's like there's a million other ways like you can have fun. Like it doesn't have to like involve alcohol or drugs.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing too is, you know, there's people like that though that really do depend on that. And I've been around those kinds of people plenty of times, and I've cut off a lot of people out of my life who are like that because it's like they can't do anything without, you know, some kind of drug or alcohol or anything, you know. And I feel like there's even a lot of people that can't go to shows unless they can drink. Like I've seen that, you know, be a problem. There was a VFW show a few months ago that Dylan from Shackle put together, and you know, there was no drinking, nothing, and you know, we ended up finding like beer cans in the parking lot and shit like that, and it was just like you like really couldn't go one show without fucking drinking, especially like a memorial show. Like there really are just people that fucking I don't even want to say need it, but in their mind they need it or they're not gonna have fun, and that's just pretty shitty to me.
Yeah, I actually remember Dylan posting about it on Twitter a while back. I saw him, you know, pretty upset about all that.
Yeah, especially too because you know, I guess I don't really know the history of the venue too well, but I'm pretty sure it was the first show back, and you know, they wanted to have shows there again, and that could have ruined the whole venue for everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, from people just being stupid and just, you know, you can't just go inside and chill.
Yeah, exactly. And and I don't want anybody to take that the wrong way who's listening to this. If you know, if you drink at shows, do your thing. I'm not hating on people like that at all. I'm just saying there's definitely people who feel like they need that stuff, and to me that sucks because like you don't, like you need to find ways to like have fun. Like you said, like people who ask you how you have fun like without any kind of substance. Like to me that's fucking terrifying that people like depend on it that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, for me, from my point of view, it's definitely foreign because it's not like, you know, it's never been a part of my life.
So you've always been straight edge?
Well, like when I was younger, I didn't know what it was. So like I didn't start. I'm getting it. Like I feel like I got into hardcore and straight edge at the same time. So it's always just been like it's always just been like one thing for me. Like I've never been a part of hardcore and not straight edge. Yeah,
which is cool, and I feel like that's the case for a lot of people, like especially younger kids, because I know a lot of younger kids that are coming around now. I shouldn't even say young because I'm 23, I'm still a baby, but you know, people younger than me that are going to shows, they kind of like see the straight edge thing and they're so infatuated by it, and like, yo, this is so fucking cool, and shows are cool, and I'm like, yeah, like do that's cool, like, you know what I mean, like it's cool, it's part of the culture, you know, it's always gonna be there.
Yeah, and that's just like one aspect of it, because there's like there's just so many different like aspects of it, like, you know, when it comes to like all like the subgenres and then, you know, the different lifestyles that come with it. So I always like to let people kind of find their own way.
Right. I mean, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, because trying to like control people or get people to follow you, I feel just is like weird, and people like, you know, aren't just gonna. I feel like people could follow and not be comfortable with themselves, and then one day just freak out, and then finally reveal who they really are, and it's like, oh, that's weird. Like, why did we all waste this time? Like, how about you just go and just be yourself, and things would be a lot easier.
Yeah. No, exactly. I completely agree with that too. Because you know, you shove something down somebody's throat, you know, chances are it's probably not going to work out a year down the road.
Yeah, because I feel like we're all just so curious, and you tell somebody not to do something, it's going to make them want to do it more.
Oh, exactly. I mean, it's like when you're a little kid and you know, your mom says no, I mean, just do it anyway, and like just piss them off. Like it kind of like the things like that in your head really don't go away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird how our brain works.
Yeah, I was just like having like a conversation with JT from On Site last night about it. That there's like, I feel like there's things that you're kind of just like born with like, I guess, like, I was like, because we were talking about the pandemic and, like, you know, let's say, like, money runs out for, like, you know, unemployment or whatever the case is. And, you know, people just, you know, do what they got to do. And I brought up, like, a survival mode. And he's like, you know, do you think that's, like, taught, or do you think as a human you're kind of born with that instinct? And I was like, I think you're born with it. Like, granted, like, there's things you can learn, like, how to survive, like, you know, building fires, like, things like that. But I feel like there's, like, a part of a person like that, like, every person has that in the back of their brain somewhere, like, you know, some kind of, like, survival mode on, like, how to figure out how to, you know, survive, like, you know, if the world ever, like, did, like, start ending, or, you know, money ran out, things like that.
I would like to attribute that to me playing so many video games growing up and being put in all these different scenarios and always having to save the world. So I feel like if we were put in a situation, I'm like, all right, cool. Like, which video game does this kind of line with? And then let's kind of try to go from there.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of how I felt, because I've been playing through The Last of Us 2, and I was like, wow, like, this is basically what's happening, just not as bad, but it's close enough. And I was just thinking, I was like, man, like, if this ever happened, like, this is really how it would be. Like, it's not like, it's kind of scary when video games aren't too far from reality, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, damn, like, you know, if this ever, you know, really did happen, like, to me, it's just kind of like a very possible thing, at least to see, like, with how, like, chaotic the world is right now. It's not like, you know, it's not like, oh man, like, in the future, like, this is going to happen and everything's going to be crazy. It's like, yeah, you know what, that might actually happen. It's not just in movies and video games anymore.
Just curious, did you or were you in tune with all the drama with The Last of Us 2 leading up to its release?
The like the spoilers and all that stuff.
Yeah, like that you know, a disgruntled employee who, like, leaked, like, the whole story and everything.
Yeah, so I seen that there were spoilers, and then I literally stopped, like, even going on IGN's, like, YouTube channel, or, like, even searching up anything about The Last of Us. And even when it came out, I just stayed off my phone for 3 days, because I had, like, just, like, people were just throwing up leaks everywhere, like, intentionally trying to spoil it for people. So I was like, I'm just going to turn my phone off, and I literally just stayed home and played it for 3 days until I beat it.
Okay, and were you satisfied with the game?
Oh yeah, I think it's, honestly, I think it's better than the first one. Like, between, like, length of the game, mm-hmm. and just the storyline overall, like, it was good. My favorite thing about it was literally, like, and I don't care who you are, that storyline was not predictable at all, and that's what really sucked me into the game itself. Is because I was like, I like when I'm, like, playing something or watching something, and, like, there's so many, like, twists and turns, and it's like, wow, like, I really didn't think that was going to happen. And it's kind of like there's enough oh shit moments where, like, between, like, characters being killed off and, like, things like that, where, like, I feel like a lot of TV shows or video games or anything, they're so scared to do those, like, oh shit moments that everything kind of blends together and nothing really stands out. And, like, that's why that game stands out, is because they do the things that are, like, going to affect people, and, like, not everybody's gonna like it, but they're still doing it because that's what they wanted to do.
You know, I get motion sickness, so there's certain games that I can't play for, like, a long length of time, and I had bought The Last of Us for the PS3, and I was so stoked to play because, like, I heard so much good things about it, and I tried playing it, but I couldn't finish it because the camera was just, like, way too shaky. And it was like, you know, zoom in, zoom out, and it was just fucking me up. And I'm like, dude, I can't do this. Like this game, and I don't know if it was just because I was getting sick from playing it, but I was like, you know, this game's not even that fun. So, like, I just never finished it. And seeing seeing all the hype for part 2, and then hearing you say that you think part 2 is better than the first one, it has me curious, because I like the idea of the game, but I just couldn't finish the first one. So I'm really curious to try out the second one at some point.
Yeah, I would definitely, if you do pick up the second game, I would definitely just watch. Well, actually, no, you don't even need to, because actually, now that I remember, that is cool. So the second game, it actually starts off with a recap of the first game, which I thought was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's been, like, I think 7 years or something like that.
Yeah, and it's nice. It's like you know, tuning into, like, a show on, like, Netflix, and they have, like, you know, the little breakdown before from, like, what happened last season. I was like to have that option to view it or to skip it, because, you know, sometimes, like, when there's time in between, like, you don't like remember every single detail, so like they could just remind you of certain like key events that you probably like just forgot about.
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's like, and what you did, it reminded me of stuff, and I was thinking, I was like, man, so people who never played the first game, like, this is perfect because they'll know like exactly what's going on and like why this is happening.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like I can't think of a game that off the top of my head that has done that for like a like a sequel.
I think one of the Assassin's Creeds might have done it, but that's the only game I could think of that would have.
Okay. And honestly, I didn't even know you were a gamer. So hearing you talk about the Last of Us, I think it's pretty awesem.
Yeah, dude.
Did you watch the reveal event for the PS5?
Yeah, I watched that. I'm impressed, and I've always been an Xbox dude. Like I have a fucking Gears of War tattoo.
Oh, you do? That's crazy. What did you have, like the Crimson logo or?
Yeah, I got it on my my left arm. It was my second tattoo.
Okay, that's crazy.
Like Gears of War is my favorite. Like that's the best series I ever played.
Okay, great game.
Yeah, so I'm like, I feel like a lot of people don't know that, but yeah, that's my thing, man. Like I was always super into video games. Like before skateboarding, like that's all I did, and to this day, like it's just cool to me. Like you get away from everything, and just like and I attach myself to like storylines more than anything. Like campaign single player games. Like that's why I like Gears of War. Like the whole like brotherhood thing and. Them being so close together and everything being so chaotic, but they're still like, like a family at that point, like fighting in a war. And like, this is like the coolest thing ever. And then, like games like Halo and, just like there's so much shit like Assassin's Creed, like it's just endless. Like it's one of those things where, you go into a game store, like you look at all these games and it's like you can get sucked into something and literally escape reality and you're in somebody else's fucking world for a couple days. And like, that's like really cool to me.
Hell yeah. So I find it interesting. You said that you're normally an Xbox guy, but how'd you end up with a PS4?
I literally bought one the day before The Last of Us 2 came out.
Oh, so wait. So did you play the first one?
Yeah. I had a PS3.
Okay.
And I literally did the same thing. I bought a PS3 just for the first game. I beat it. I played, I think, God of War 3, and then I sold it. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to get a PS4 again because there's a couple games I wanted, like Horizon Zero Dawn and the newest God of War and Days Gone. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to buy a PS4, get The Last of Us, beat that, and then get all the games that I've been missing out on because I've always had an Xbox.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, yeah, I feel like that's where I'm at. Like, so a couple years ago, I was moving and I just wanted everything to fit in my car. So I sold off my TV. I like threw away my bed. And when it came to my consoles, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not going to have time right now. So I sold off like my Switch, my PS4, my Xbox One. And I was like, I'll get them again at some point. But I never did. I ended up just building a gaming PC. And that's like my main source of like where I play all my games. And
right.
And I just bought a Switch a couple months ago because the Animal Crossing came out, and I was at this point where I'm like, shit, like I really want an Xbox, I really want a PlayStation, but it's just so late in the life cycle. I'm just like, I don't think like I want to drop that much money when I know the new systems are coming out at the end of the year. And I know PlayStation is gonna have like backwards compatibility, so it's like, like it sucks right now, but I'm just gonna wait because it's just a lot of money.
Yeah, no, exactly, and I would, like I said, I mean, dude, I thought about it, but I wanted The Last of Us so bad, and I had a friend that was like, yeah, I'll sell you a PlayStation for $150. I was like, all right, whatever. At least I'm not buying one brand new. So
yeah, dude,
it kind of
did
myself justice.
That's a deal because I'm sure. When it gets closer, you'll be able to trade that in and put that money or put that system towards your new system. So,
yeah. Well, and that was what I was thinking about. I was like, you know what? I could just take these both because, I mean, for me, I'm probably going to get the new Xbox first. But I was like, I could just trade these both in, get the new system, and then do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you'll basically get it at a discount because you're trading in your old stuff, so you're not going to be paying full price outright for the Xbox.
Exactly.
Okay, and I'm curious, do you like the design of the Xbox better or the PlayStation 5?
I think the PlayStation 5 looks a million times better.
Okay.
But it's just being like, so my biggest thing, like with the, like, so the PlayStation, like the reveal event really sold me, and I definitely want to get one. Like that game with the cat with the backpack, I was like, that's fucking sick. I need a PlayStation. You can play as a fucking cat. And there was a few other games. I can't remember the names of any of them, but like that I've seen, I was like, man, that like looks cool. There was just like a bunch of like new exclusives, but I know there's a new Gears of War game that came out on PC that's coming out on the new system, and there's a new Halo coming out. So those two alone for me are like, yeah, I have to get an Xbox, and hopefully there's more exclusives that get announced. But
yeah, I'm not like growing up when I thought you had to pick a side, I was always like pro PlayStation, just because that's what I had growing up. Like my mom bought me a PlayStation 1, PS2. I camped out for a PS3, so I was always like team PlayStation until I met my buddy Nate, who I do like an MMA podcast with. He actually sold me on getting an Xbox to play Gears of War with him and his group of friends. So that's why I finally caved and got an Xbox and saw that it was okay. I could have both, and like I wouldn't be a traitor. So I was like definitely stoked on getting that. But for me, I feel like I like the design of the Xbox console more, just because like I'm all about just like simplistic, just like as simple and plain as can be. So I just like the fact that it's just like some weird plain looking tower that and to be all honestly, it's just going to be behind my monitors or behind my TV. Like I'm never really ever going to see these consoles because like fun fact, I don't buy physical games. Like I do everything digitally. So like PlayStation, it's cool that they announced that there's going to be like a digital version of the system. So I'm curious to see if Xbox is going to have something similar. But that's like the option that I'm going to go, because like I haven't bought a physical game in a long time. The last physical game I bought was for I think it was for the 360. No, it was maybe Xbox One. I can't remember. It was Xbox One. It was Metal Gear Rising. It was like that action game.
I remember that game. Yeah.
Yeah, where you played as Raiden. And that was the last physical game I bought, and I bought that on a whim. It was like 2 a.m. I was at a Walmart, and I was like, I want to spend some money, so I went and bought a random game. But since then, I haven't bought anything. I went like fully digital. So like, and that was like years ago. So yeah, so like everything I own is like like digital. So that's where I want to go like moving forward.
Oh yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, that's what I do now. The Xbox I have is actually all digital. It doesn't even have a disc tray. Okay. So for me, like, I was like, all right, well, that's cool. I'll just get that because I didn't have any discs anymore anyway. But the last disc I bought was when Spyro came out, was remastered.
Okay.
Just because, like, as a kid, that was my favorite fucking game, and I was like, oh, I need this on a disc. And the Xbox I had at the time had a disc tray. Dude. Then like bringing that home, I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like I'm about to play fucking Spyro. Like again, I think I was like 22 when it came out. Maybe I was still 21, and I was like, this is so fucking cool.
Dude, Spyro, another game that I couldn't finish because of the camera. It was like so crazy, like it got me sick.
Oh my shit! I mean, that game I could definitely see it because that thing, it's fucking all over the place.
Yeah, because like I forgot, like I had some sort of like demo disc like that PlayStation would do, like either from like the PlayStation magazine or from like Pizza Hut back in the day.
Oh, dude, I remember those things. Yeah. They were fucking cool as shit.
Yeah, so Spyro was on one of them. There was like a demo of Spyro, and I remember trying to play, and like I was like, God, I can't do this. This is so bad.
Yeah, dude, that sucks. That's really shitty and unfortunate.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why like I tend to lean towards like fighting games. Like I play like a lot of Street Fighter, and I'm really into like RPGs, like anything Final Fantasy. I'm like super into, or I can do like action RPGs. Like I love Fallout, Skyrim, and
yeah,
like that.
Games are amazing.
But but just like when it comes to like first person shooters. Like it's just like I have to play them like in like short bursts, like Call of Duty, Halo, just anything like that. And I feel like that's why like I was so down to play Gears, because it's like third person, and the camera's not super crazy, so like my mind and my brain isn't gonna get all messed up.
Yeah, no, and like Gears is the shit. And it's funny that like you liked it because it was third person, because I remember growing up, especially in high school, all my friends fucking hated Gears because it was third person. Mm-hmm. And I also played like the Ghost Recon games, and a lot of those were third person. I was like, oh, this is sick. I love third person, like Rainbow Six Vegas and shit like that. And yeah, because Vegas was like half and half because there was like a whole cover system. But yeah, the third person games are sick.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, I think it's cool.
I play Fallout 3 in third person.
That's sick. I actually forgot that you could do that.
Yeah.
Fallout took probably years off of my life, but it's fine. It was worth it.
Dude, there was a point like when Fallout 3 was out, I was unemployed, and that's all I would do is I would just play Fallout. Like I bought in Fallout, and my mom just left me alone. I just like I was like I think I was like unemployed for like 4 months, and I would just sit in my room and I would just play Fallout, and I would play Fallout so much that like I would have like these like vivid dreams of being in the wasteland.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and it was so strange, and then eventually, like, you know, after like, you know, a couple months, I ended up like, you know, getting a job, and like the game had already been beaten, and I had already like read everything that I could about it on like Wikipedia, so like I was like finally like okay to like stop playing it, and like especially after like all the DLC and everything. But seriously, that game like for it like coming out and like kind of just changing the world for Fallout, I was like, dude, this is so awesome. This is like I'm gonna love this game forever.
Yeah, no, and that was a game that really did it for like what you're saying, like, you know, how much time you put into it. It was like that for everyone, like, and the people who didn't get like that over Fallout, they got like that over Skyrim. So it was like cool that like everybody had that same experience where the games were just so good that they just fucking sucked people into them. And that's like my thing now. Like I've been laid off for a few months now, and I was just like, well, I'm just gonna skate every day, and when I'm not skating, I'm gonna just play video games. Like I just bought like a bunch of the Assassin's Creed games and fucking The Last of Us and just like a bunch of random games, and I've just been trying to like beat them all because I'm like a little achievement whore, and like I know PlayStation has like the trophies, so I like try to like beat games, like get my gamer scores up, and just like look through them.
Yeah, that's really fun. I feel like it gives you like a whole new aspect on like playing the game, because obviously like you can like play it and just enjoy it and go through it, but then like it kind of gives it like replay value, because like you can go and kind of look and be like, all right, cool, like there's like I get like a little reward for doing like this certain thing, and I like that they'll tell you like, you know, oh, like, you know, like X% of people got this like, you know, trophy or achievement, so it kind of like lets you know like, okay, cool, like I'm actually like in this elite group of people that actually like, you know, love the game this much that actually went out of their way to do this hard thing.
Yeah, no, it's cool because like, you know, people need that, at least I do, because like there's so much serious shit going on in like the world, and like that's what people need is like an escape to like whether like you feel like a kid again or just need to get away for like a bit. And like, you know, because being serious all the time and worried, like it's not good for anyone. That sucks. So it's cool that like video games are there. And like I was super stoked. I remember like when it was that Vatican LDB set, like everybody was like coming out like, oh, I play video games, I do this, and I was like, all right, sick, everybody's a fucking nerd, and now everybody knows what's going on, and that's cool.
Yeah, I was actually surprised because like, yeah, I guess I just wasn't exposed or just not talking to the right people, but I never realized how many gamers are actually involved in hardcore. So seeing that, I thought it was like really awesome, because like growing up, I remember in middle school, like people used to try to like bully me and make fun of me because I played video games, and people used to call me a liar because I told them that I had a PS2. But like straight up, like my mom went day one and like picked it up, because like we went and like reserved it at like this local game store in our mall, like back home. It used to be called Software Etc., but then it eventually turned into a GameStop. But like she reserved the PS2 like, you know, as soon as we could, and she paid it off like throughout the year, and then the day it came out, she literally went to the mall in the morning and picked it up, and like it was there for me when I got home from school. And like, yeah, it was weird when I was younger, like, and like playing video games like wasn't cool, but like now it's like there's like this whole like, you know, like cool culture like around it, and I was just like,
oh yeah, like now everybody has a fucking copy of Call of Duty or has a system, like. And like I had the same experience, you know, because I was like, you know, especially in fucking elementary school, I was a fucking nerd, dude. I had my fucking hair grown out, and I was obsessed with Halo. I couldn't play Gears of War yet because my mom was like, oh, it's too bloody, like stupid shit like that.
Uh-huh.
But it's funny too, like you say about the PS2, like having to reserve it, like, because I remember how limited like consoles were back then. Like you really had to go to a GameStop and hope that they had them in stock. Like there was no like Amazon, or it wasn't as easy to just order a system. Yeah.
Things are way more convenient now.
Oh, 100%. And it's cool because, like, I mean, there's more people that care about it. Like, Cayman from Strangle You, shout them out. They're sick. Atlanta Hardcore. But we've been on a 3-day conversation now about The Last of Us, and I thought it was really funny because he like texted me out of the blue about the game, and I was like, damn, like there's so many other people in hardcore that are literally like just as like I guess like nerdy as I am, and I think it's funny because it's like we're all at these shows like being lunatics and moshing and saying this and whatever and screaming about that, and it's like at the end of the day we're like, we're all just a bunch of fucking chaotic little nerds.
Yeah, shout out Cayman, great guy. But yeah, no, it's sick. I love that, like we're able to like lean on each other and just talk about video games, because obviously you guys are going through it at the same time, because I did see his tweets and him being really into Last of Us 2, so it's cool to know that you guys are able to just hit each other up and nerd out about it.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I'm stoked about it. Most of my band plays video games. Like Billy, he plays on PC, so he's a big ass fucking nerd too. So it's cool.
Okay, so there's like I think only like one major like release left for like the PS4. So I just curious, in the PS4's lifespan, in your opinion, which is the greatest PS4 game to have come out?
Dude, The Last of Us 2, easy.
Oh,
I mean, the first one, like it, dude. It was like for me, God of War is definitely up there. But like, I'm not kidding when I tell you, like, The Last of Us 2, like playing through that game, I haven't been that sucked into a storyline or like felt like I was even like involved since Gears of War 3. Like, it's been so long since I really had a game like I guess like consume me as a person and be like, oh fuck, I care about these characters. And yeah, definitely The Last of Us 2.
Okay, hell yeah. Well, that's really high praise. But yeah, I feel like the last like big like AAA title that's gonna come out is like that game Ghost of Tsushima. I don't know if you've seen anything on
That
it.
game looks sick.
Yeah, and like that company who's making it, Sucker Punch, they came out with obviously for like PS2 they did Sly Cooper. But fast forward to PS4, they came out with like one of the first games that they did, that Infamous Second Son, and like I'd never played Infamous before that, but I jumped into Infamous Second Son and fell in love with it. I played it like as a good guy and a bad guy, and I was like, wow, this is like the new generation, and this was like way back early PS4 days. But I was like, this is amazing. Like I love this.
Yeah,
series.
I gotta check that game out because I heard that game is really cool.
Yeah, it's a fun like, and a cool story, like because it's like futuristic. I think it's like it takes place in like Seattle, if I remember correctly. But it's insane.
Yeah, no, that sounds sick. I definitely want to check that out.
Yeah, but think about it, they came out with like that game in like 2014, and I think they just kind of went silent, and then like and that was at the beginning of the PS4 life cycle, and then here we are at the end, and they're coming out with this game Ghost of Tsushima, and that shit looks so crazy.
Yeah, no, that game, like, I seen the trailer for that, and I was like, that's fucking crazy. I remember seeing something like, there's no, I guess there's no mini-map. Like, so, like, if you're on a quest and it says, like, oh, you gotta go to this place, look for this giant building, you really have to just roam the world and find it. And I was like, that's such a realistic concept, and, like, it's definitely gonna add a lot more playtime, because I'm sure everyone's gonna spend a lot of time trying to fucking find shit. But I'm like, that's cool, because that's like, I appreciate things like that. So I'm like, wow, that's something that's really going to pull you into the game and like make you like outside of the video game. You're going to be like at work or whatever, thinking about it, like, oh man, like if this is in that area and this is that, you know what I mean? It kind of like steps out of the video game and gets into your brain a little bit.
Yeah, you gotta think it's so common to have a mini map and kind of just have like a little like sense of direction, but to be put in a whole new world with really like like no sense of direction, you got to kind of just figure it out on your own. I feel like that's pretty awesome, and it's gonna bring like a whole new sense of adventure.
Yeah, exactly. That's something I'm actually really excited for. I think that game will be sick.
Okay. Well, I love this, video game talk, but there's one last thing I want to ask you about. Ripped Away, you guys won an award at the Steamtown Music Awards. Oh
yeah, that was fucking really cool. Shout out Joe Caviston. He does like a lot of stuff for like the Scranton like music scene. Not so much like heavy stuff, but He like books a lot of shows like for bars in the area, and like he does like emo nights. So he's very inclined with like local music, and even him not being involved in heavy music, he still pays respects for it. And I know he like booked shows back in the day. He had a venue called Egnor Ridby's where he did do like a lot of hardcore shows and big shows like that. But these days not so much of that, but still like homage to him. He's a great dude. But yeah, he gave us an award for I think it was like best heavy act or something like that. And that was really cool because I was there. One of our other members was there too, and like I was just there with a couple of people I skated with. I was like, I'll check it out, like support it, like it's local music, like check out some bands, like whatever. Because I listen to a lot of stuff outside of hardcore, like a lot of like indie bands and fucking dad rock and butt rock, whatever you want to call it. But like yeah, this is sick. And we were hanging out, and I'm like literally at the bar drinking a beer, and my buddy's like starts freaking out, and he's grabbing me. He's like, yo, go up there. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you guys just fucking won an award. I'm like, what? So I went up there and like gave a little speech and shit. It was really cool. I was very nervous.
Well, yeah, I can imagine if you're at the bar and you had no idea that you guys were gonna win, and you kind of like last second like, hey, go give a speech. Like, oh shit, like all right.
Yeah, exactly, and that's like I think that's what kind of made it like even funnier though. Looking back on it now, is that I promise you, there was not like an ounce of hope in my head that we were going to win anything. Mm-hmm. So like to actually be up there, I was like, damn, this is like cool that people give a shit.
Yeah. So shout out to you guys winning that award, because I was just kind of going through your guys' Instagram and I saw that, and I thought that was cool that somebody cares enough about the local music that they're willing to do like an award show, because that takes a lot of effort. So for somebody to do that, I think it's awesome, and for you guys to get recognized was pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly, and I was stoked about it. Like I still am. It was a really cool opportunity.
Okay, so. I know early on we mentioned that you moved. Did you move for like a specific reason, or did you just want to kind of like try something new?
A little bit of both. I mean, so around here, like work's hard. Like if you don't have a trade or like don't do like restaurant or bars, stuff like that, like it's hard to find work. Like I was working warehouse to warehouse, and I got sick of it. I was like, like I want to do something else with my life, and I was like, well, let me try Philadelphia, because I've always like been infatuated with like New York City and Philadelphia. Philadelphia just seemed more reasonable, and like mainly just between that, like wanting to find a better job and music itself. I was like, dude, if I move to Philly, I can go to a show every fucking weekend. I can see all kinds of like crazy bands, because like Philly hardcore shows, like they're fucking doing so much fucking work. Like all those dudes are killing it. Like there's literally a show every fucking weekend. Obviously, like not now because of Corona, but. So I was like, that's just where like the music scene's at right now, and that's like where I want to be. So, I try to like, I don't necessarily like base my entire life around hardcore, but in a sense I do, because that's what I care about. I'm kind of like what keeps me sane. So moving to Philly just made sense, and it worked out. I mean, I ended up landing like a really cool fucking job that I like. Like it's hard work, but money's good. I got a cool spot in Philly, and hopefully when the shit's over, shows pick up again and get back into that.
Yeah, I remember seeing you tweet about how like moving to Philly was like one of the best things to happen, if I'm remembering that tweet correctly.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I do it all over again 10 times. Like, it's for me too, being on my feet now, because as I started moving down there, I had like friends help me out, which is cool. But now I'm in a situation where I am completely on my own. And everything's on me, and like I have roommates, but it's still up to me to like have my part of the rent, things like that. And that's something for the first time for me is like growing as a person. It was cool because I'm actually on my own. Like there was a lot of times where like I like had my own place, but like it was with someone else, or like what I mean, like kind of like split the rent type deal. Where this is like a house, the rent's split for the mortgage, but like my room is my room, my rent's my rent. Like what I mean? It's just like that sense of independence that I didn't really have that side of it. So it's cool to like finally be like in my own world where I'm like, all right, I'm in Philadelphia, I'm not from here, I got a cool job, like I'm kind of like living my life right now. I'm like figuring out where I want to go from here. And it's cool to like kind of like be in a space for once where I can think about my future rather than being so like surrounded by so much chaos and like just toxic shit, where it's like now I can think about like actually having a future and like doing things like that.
Yeah, I'm glad you're able to kind of get that perspective and take that step for yourself, because it's something hard to kind of step away, especially from from like, you know, like somewhere that you would call home and just kind of go into like a whole new city. And like I know it's just like a couple hours away, but I know for a fact that, like, you know, I grew up in Palm Springs, moved to Orange County. That's like a 2 hour difference, but that 2 hours like difference is like a whole new world, like out here in Orange County. So
100%, I could imagine.
Yeah, so I think it's really cool that you're able to, you know, take that step, and like I know firsthand that it's really hard to move somewhere and start fresh. So to hear that you're having a good experience, and, you know, you're stable, it's really awesome. And I, like, you know, hope it works out, you know, long term, and you know, you get what you want out of, like, you know, moving to Philadelphia.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like that's like it was fucking scary, man. Like because I went down there for shows all the time. I was basically driving there every weekend. But when you really live there, like when I started going grocery shopping there, you know, I'm used to, let's say, going to a Walmart. Yeah, it's packed, but it's not Philadelphia packed. You know what I mean? So it's like, or just going to get gas, like seeing, like, you know, 30, 40 people at a gas station. I'm used to seeing like maybe 3 people, like. Or like every car that drives by, like probably knowing like 3 out of the 5 cars that drove by. So going from such a small town to like Philadelphia was very like, oh shit, I got to get used to this.
Okay, hell yeah, that's awesome. And I'm just curious, like, you moved to Philly, and then I know like early in the pandemic, you put out a demo with your newer band Fool's Game, and I was just curious.
Yeah.
And has members from like other bands, and I was just curious, did you already have this in the works before you moved to Philly, or did this start once you got settled in Philadelphia?
No, so this was I always wanted to like have like a faster hardcore band, because I love doing the ripped away stuff, like the heavier stuff, but I always was like very like, oh man, like doing something like, you know, kind of like Backtrack style, or just something like faster, like more two-steppy, like fun. I was like, I want to do that so bad. And I was like thinking, I was like, man, like who could I do it with? And I was talking to, I brought it up to Keith and Bob Wilson once, and Bob's like, why don't you just talk to some of the Shackle dudes and start a band with them? And I like thought about it, I was like, man, that's like such a cool idea. There was a Strength for a Reason show. It was a benefit show, a little bit like right outside of Philly. I can't remember the name of the area. I think it was Phoenixville. And Bailey from Shame Spiral and Face Wreck was there, and like we've known each other for years. So, and I like brought it up to him, and he's like, yeah, he's like, you know what, let's do it. Like, that'd be cool. I want to play in a fast band. So I hit up Andrew from Shackled, their guitar player, and Nick, their drummer, and they were down. So we like chilled out for a couple of days on it. Everybody was down. We started a group chat, talked about it. You know, Bailey wrote all the songs. I wrote the lyrics, and we went to Lens and recorded it and banged it out in a day and dropped the demo. And it seemed like people like kind of liked it. So I'm stoked about it.
Yeah, I remember I checked it out, and I was like, dude, this is like super sick. And I know you guys were slated to play the Unity barbecue, right?
Yeah. Bob had us on that, and unfortunately it got canceled because of like the Corona shit, and like that sucks because I was stoked. I was like, man, like first show, like it's a banger. Like all my fucking friends' bands are playing.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, like that would have been like a legendary first show, because like. And like I always give Bob high praise for putting the Unity barbecue together, because I love the lineup for the first one, and just hearing about how awesome it went over, and then seeing the lineup for the second one, I'm like, dude, this shit just keeps getting like better and better. And seeing you guys on it, and that being the first show for Fool's Game, I was like, damn, this is gonna be like legendary.
Yeah, I was like super stoked, and I'm still like bummed that it didn't happen, but you know, hopefully when this shit's over, we can like get to play a show, because we're itching right now, and we're writing more music. So it's cool, because Fool's Game is definitely like just as serious for me as Ripped Away is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm definitely stoked that you guys went to Tyler Mullen for like that artwork. I always like the crazy stuff that he does.
Yeah, dude, he's like a fucking wizard or demon wizard. Like the shit he makes is crazy. I definitely want to do like more stuff with him. Shout out You're the Knife.
Yeah, I definitely like seeing all the stuff that he does. Like whenever people post that it's like done by him, I'm like, okay, like I can tell, because like, it has like that flavor.
Yeah, no, dude, he fucking kills it. Like, you know, he's his own fucking, you know, it's his art. Like he's fucking really talented.
Okay, but I'm definitely stoked to hear that Fool's Game isn't just like some cool side project that happened. The fact that you guys are writing new music and you said you're taking it serious, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, definitely, and it's cool for me because like it's a bunch of like people my age that are just like, yeah, let's just fucking play fast music and have fun and like just do this and like because when we started the band we're like we just want to play a bunch of shows and like with our friends and just do whatever. So it's like really cool that it kind of like came together. Everybody's on the same boat.
Yeah, and especially you guys, from like being from now out there in Philly, it's cool for them to have another new band part of the scene.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm stoked about it.
Okay, hell yeah, that's super stoked to hear. And I'm really looking forward to hearing the new music in the future. But yeah, man, it's so crazy. Like, started this band, or you guys put out the demo in March, and here we are in basically almost July, and there's been like no shows or anything. It's such a bummer.
Dude, it's fucking killing me, man. I can't I don't care how corny it sounds. I just want to mosh. Like I miss moshing so much.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm like, am I even gonna? Like I don't even know what it's going to be like because I'm curious because like out here there's like there's like a bunch of different venues, whether it be in like LA or Orange County or San Diego. So I'm just not sure like who's going to have the first show back or what's going to pop off where. So I'm just always like just thinking about it, and I'm wondering what it's going to be like and like how kids out here are going to take it.
Yeah, I think most of the people will be on board. I think you're gonna have a few people that are like, oh, it's too soon, whatever. But I think for a majority of the people, everybody's ready to jump back in it, and I think it's gonna be crazy. I think everybody's gonna mosh. I think it's just gonna be fucking chaos, like a little bit more than it always is, just because it's been away for so long.
Yeah, I hope everybody kind of appreciates it more when it does come back, just because we've never been in this situation, and it's just like a clear example of like hardcore isn't always going to be forever. Like it's only continuing because of all the hard work that everybody's putting in together to keep it going. Starting bands, doing zines, podcasts, putting on shows, and just like putting on younger kids and just keeping it going. Like it all takes work, and it's not just gonna continue if we just kind of sit around and do nothing. So I hope people can recognize that during all this, and when it does come back, I hope we all just kind of appreciate it more, and just try to put more into it and keep it going even harder.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree with that, and that's what I hope. Is I've seen a lot of very I don't want to get too much into it, but just a lot of negative energy directed towards like the hardcore community itself, and especially on like Twitter and things like that. And it sucks to see, and nothing's perfect, but I feel like almost in a sense that people, it seems like, just blame hardcore, which to me doesn't really make sense because there's bad people involved in everything, and those people can easily get weeded out and taken care of, and things get better over time. But I'm hoping once shows do come back, that kind of like I feel like almost like hatred towards like the whole like scene itself kind of goes away, and people start caring for it and like making it a better, I don't want to say like a better place because it's not a fucking terrible place like the way people make it seem on the internet, but it's I just hope people like, I guess, start to actually give a shit and just go to shows and have fun rather than bring social media into every fucking thing that happens.
For sure, I definitely agree with everything you said. But Clemo, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day, getting up early and doing it. So I definitely appreciate that. But before we sign off, is there anything you want to shout out or plug?
Follow the Hive on Instagram. Scram Looks for Hardcore is coming up. Honestly, I'd love to shout out a bunch of bands, but actually I'll shout out like 3 bands that I feel like deserve it, because there's a lot of hype bands right now, but definitely Choice to Make put out a record recently. Check it out. Semilaka. Dude, there's so many bands. I know Molly just started a band with those Delaware kids. I can't think of the name. This band Spirit Flaw. Check them out. Dude, thank you for having me so much. Like, I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you again. I definitely appreciate it. Thank you guys again for tuning in. This has been another episode of the JMRK podcast, always on top.